You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast, here on the BQN Podcast Collective. I'm your host for today, Thad, and joining me is my co-host, Chrissy. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. I'm not sure about the people around me. I think we might have some infiltrators. So you guys are going to have to prove your legitimacy. Preferably not with a heart-wrenching moment.
Well, I guess scan me and make sure I have some DNA in me, I guess.
Oh, yeah, that's true. There is that whole DNA thing. Although I've heard this is getting a little more complicated, so we'll have to see. And how are you doing today, Thad?
I'm all right. I'm seeing these weird red vines, and, voices are telling me to find them, but other than that, I'm okay. It shouldn't be anything I need to worry about.
Yeah, I don't know. You might be falling into a television show from the 2000s. I don't know.
Also joining us today is Donny Winter of Restitching the Tapestry and Growing Up with Godzilla. How are you today, Donny?
I'm feeling particularly Borgish today, but I'm doing quite well. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on.
Before we jump into our topic for the day, we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons who make our show possible, particularly our associate producers, Carl Wonders, Justin Oser, and Chrissie De Clerck-Szilagyi. Listeners, you can hear your name listed as one of our associate producers for a monthly subscription of just $10 at patreon.com/BQN. And with a monthly Patreon subscription of just $5, you can join our meetings at the Hive Mind on the second Saturday of each month. Watch your Patreon messages for details. Alright, so we do have a little bit of news. Technically, this should have gone in last week's episode, but I didn't hear about it until later. Apparently, Robert Beltran was asked to be on Star Trek Picard Season 2, and he said no.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that already. Which goes to show you how much that was a thing in my head.
I think Alex Perry on Weekly Trek summed this up pretty well when he said, this really just shows that Beltran has no sense of humor, which we all knew. Because the role was going to be, as listeners probably remember Season 2 of Picard, since we're talking about Season 3 of Picard now, in the beginning of the season, when they're in the alternate future with fascist Earth, Beltran was going to be President Annika Hansen's fascist husband. And which I think would have caused the internet to disintegrate if that happened. But it would have been great. It would have been awesome. I would have loved to see it. But apparently Beltran didn't want to do it because he didn't think that it was accurate to Chakotay's character, which it's an alternate universe, dude. Of course it's not accurate.
You know, he has proven so many times that he does not understand Star Trek.
Yeah.
Just by the way he functions and the things he says, and that's just one more on the list, so okay.
Yeah, so anyway, we missed our chance to get evil Chakotay in Season 2 of Picard, and we got Issa Briones' dad instead.
And he
did a
great
very
job.
talented actor, too, so I'm glad we did get him.
Yeah, exactly. It ended up great. He did a fantastic job, so... There is apparently an alternate universe somewhere where we got alternate universe fascist Chakotay. It's alternate universes all the way down.
Who might be just Robert Beltran anyway.
Touché.
Maybe we'll get a book adaptation or something of what could have been.
There we go.
But either way, I'm sure he's still going to be back in Season 3 of Prodigy because they're gonna look for and find Chakotay, I'm sure.
Yeah. That'll be okay.
I think that's all the news we have.
I think so. We talked about Discovery getting canceled last week, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So. Oh, I know.
2 weeks ago, actually, I think, is when we talked about Discovery getting canceled. But yes.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah, because the news came out during the cruise.
That's right.
All right. So, Star Trek Picard, Season 3, Episode 5, Imposters. Donny, what did you think of this week's episode?
Ooh, okay, so let me preface by saying that I have been loving Season 3 so far. I mean, I've enjoyed all of the seasons, but I feel like Season 3 was like that nostalgia that I've been salivating over, you know? Mm-hmm. And we finally got it, and this episode, I feel like, has just been for me, like this continuing, like this building of like a really great storyline with very wholesome arcs that are being, you know, brought in full circle. And I really feel like that this episode specifically was full of a lot of surprises when it comes to the, you know, resolution and expansion of story arcs that we've not seen for 30 years. So I loved it. I thought it was great. It was very intense. It had good action, but it also was balanced with small character moments. It was great.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was pretty great. Chrissy, what do you think?
Yeah, we have some wonderful setup for the future, and we have some, I'm not going to say resolution, but we have some bits of bringing pieces of the story together. So, yeah. And I personally think, very specific moment about how Jean-Luc tells Jack that Starfleet's full of people who, how does he put it? Find themselves there?
Doesn't he say, like, people who were, like, lost or something like that find
something
Starfleet?
Like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's the line on which we can all hang our hats for a Titan series with civilian Dr. Jack Crusher and Captain Seven and Ensign LaForge. I hope.
We need this. CBS, Paramount Plus, are you listening?
Probably not.
I know that's not like the overall thing, but it stuck out in my head every time I saw it. I was like, yes, there it is, right there. So, yes. So it was an excellent episode.
It was many a rebel from all regions of the galaxy have found their way to Starfleet.
Thank you. Perfect.
A next generation show, I think, could be very interesting. So, the big thing, obviously, that happened this week is that after 30 years, Star Trek finally convinced Michelle Forbes to return as Ro Laren. They tried multiple times. They wanted her as a main cast member on DS9, and when she refused that, a couple years later, they tried to get her as a main cast member on Voyager, and she refused that, but they did get her back for one episode of Picard. And she was great in it.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. I'm so glad that she came back. Like, I was wowed. I was not expecting it whatsoever.
No. There were people talking about, you know, oh, it's probably going to be Ro, and I did not, like, Justin, a former host on this show, listeners, if you didn't know, I mean, that was all, once they said that there's legacy characters that hadn't been announced, he's like, oh, it's going to be Ro. He had a list, but he was pretty sure about Ro, and I'm like, I don't know how you came up with that, because I would not have expected that. I did not see her coming at all.
No, she was definitely on my short list of possible legacy character returns. It makes sense, especially because she and Picard had a relationship, etc. I know. Again, Alex on Weekly Trek called this like a year ago. Like he said that Ro was probably coming, and there we go. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely out there. There were a lot of people thinking it, but we certainly didn't know. This was not leaked or anything. This was just suddenly she shows up on screen. It's like, wow. Also, Michelle Forbes, aging like a fine wine, I must say.
I was so impressed by, because so obviously each of the characters have like their mannerisms. They're like, she picked up Ro's mannerisms like it was yesterday. And I was obsessed with it. I was just like, she's back, everyone.
Yeah.
The only thing that like strains a little bit of credulity on my part is that Picard had no idea that she was back in Starfleet.
Okay, that. What got me is not so much that he didn't know she was back in Starfleet, because if they threw her into security services and didn't tell anybody, then they didn't tell anybody, fine. But nobody told him that she'd been imprisoned again? How did he not know that part?
How did he not, like, every once in a while just Google her to find out what she was up to?
Or you'd think somebody would pop in the office and be like, hey, did you hear?
Yeah.
You know?
Because the fact that she's a commander means that... I mean, okay, we've already determined that Seven became a commander immediately, but Ro, I think this means that she's been back in Starfleet for quite a while. Yeah, that she's a commander and got into this high status in Starfleet security. So, it strains credulity, as I said, that Picard wouldn't have every once in a while been like, I wonder what happened to Ro Laren. Let me look that up. And yeah.
Well, to play devil's advocate, we all know that though with with Starfleet intelligence, they're very underhanded with a lot of things and like very mysterious. So like it's very possible that that information may not have been out there either. Too, it may have been like classified or something to that effect.
Like, I feel like this would be the situation where I know people who do classified work for the government. I have no idea what work they do, but I know they do classified work for the government. And I feel like that would be the same sort of situation with Ro, especially since she's walking around in her uniform. That this would be a situation where people know that she works for Starfleet Security, but they have no idea what work she does.
Yeah.
True.
But anyway, it's a minor nitpick, and it's okay. It still works for the story.
I think that's a valid nitpick. Like, I feel like that's kind of been my only criticism of Picard so far, like the character. I feel like in The Next Generation, Picard was much more informed about things going on. And I feel like so far in this series, like, Picard just seems like so isolated and just not aware of, like, things going on in the galaxy, whereas like I feel like that character would normally be the type of character that would be like on top of everything, like keeping up to date on things, like looking at trends, etc. So like I can definitely see where you're coming from on that.
I think that's part of being the hermit of Labar. He decided he did not want to know anything that was going on anymore.
That's true.
And I can see why he wouldn't Google or whatever, What's the Federation equivalent of a Google? I don't. But I can see why he wouldn't look her up, because that would be painful.
True. Yes.
That's acknowledging that. So, but I still don't know why he didn't know she was out of the Maquis. And
like, he surely knows the Maquis doesn't exist anymore. Like, that happened before he became the Hermit of Labar.
Right.
That happened before the Romulan.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Supernova was even a thing.
Still captain of the Enterprise when the Maquis ended.
And you would think, given that the Maquis was naturally anti-Dominion, I mean, I guess we haven't been specifically told that, but I can't imagine they wouldn't be.
The Dominion are the ones that destroyed them, so
I
can't imagine they were pro-Dominion.
Ally, it's like you set aside the other issues. If we can ally with some of the Cardassians to get rid of the Dominion, I think we can bring the Maquis back into the fold and go, oh, sorry, we screwed up.
Right.
Right.
They never say it straight out on the show, I don't believe, but, I mean, it's established in the novels, which obviously aren't, the same timeline, etc., that basically the Maquis got blanket amnesty after the war.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Okay. I thought you were going to say about the destruction. I'm like, they do sell that on screen. But,
yeah, no, they definitely show that.
They definitely talk about that.
But... Yeah, on DS9 and Voyager, they definitely cover that. But, like, in the same way that Chakotay is, apparently always comes back to Chakotay, was welcomed back into Starfleet and became a captain. Mm-hmm. It's the same situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that explains a bit, maybe, with Ro. I feel like she probably spent the Dominion War in a jail cell. Or in New Zealand.
Which now I really want to know what happened to Thomas Riker.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
We need to... Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, well. We'll get that on Star Trek Titan.
We need to get that desperately on Star Trek Titan.
The Section 31 show is actually going to be William Boimler and Thomas Riker.
That would be awesome.
I need
So
Michelle
good.
Yeoh. I need Michelle Yeoh.
Well, yes, we all need
Granted,
Michelle Yeoh.
I'm fairly sure that she's going to cost a lot to bring back, but because of the
that's some
well-earned
Star Trek
accolades.
adjacent news. Michelle Yeoh won an Oscar between our last recording and now.
Yeah, that's right. I think this makes even more likely... I can't remember when we were talking about this, but I think we were talking about it on the podcast about how they would do a, have her in an episode to introduce where it's coming from and then have other people on, and that would make it easier, not have to pay her so much.
Yeah, I'm not sure about my unsubstantiated rumors from unsubstantiated sources that I talked about a couple weeks ago, where they said that it was going to be Section 31 was going to be a limited series, and they would announce it around the Oscars because of the buzz from Michelle Yeoh. Well, they haven't announced it, so I don't know. Maybe they were only going to announce it if she lost. I don't know.
Is she a Trek fan ahead of this? I can't remember from all this stuff talking about before Discovery.
I honestly don't know.
I have this very foggy memory of that confirmation that she was a Trek fan. I'd have to look that up though. But I mean, based on how enthusiastic she was and how warmly she talks about being on Discovery, it would surprise me if she hadn't been a fan before.
I think she's definitely, even if she wasn't a fan before, I think she was definitely a fan of being on Star Trek after having been on Star Trek. So, but it does come down to whether or not they can afford her.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at, because if she's coming into this and they're like, okay, we need you for one episode a season, then she might be willing to, reduce her fee just out of love of the thing. So,
right.
Yeah. We can hope.
That reminds me of the talk back during season 1 of Discovery when Michael Dorn said they had approached him for about a Worf cameo, and he refused because they didn't offer him a lot of money. Clearly they offered him more money for Picard season 3.
I didn't know they offered him a cameo in Discovery. You said Discovery season 1?
Yeah, he was supposed to have a cameo in Discovery season 1 as one of the Klingons, but they offered him less money than he got paid per episode on DS9, so he said no. Which was because he wasn't gonna have a starring role in the episode.
Right.
But,
Was it even, it was going to be
stand your
the Elder
ground
Worf?
For your principles, it's fine.
I didn't know that. I'm mind blown right now.
Well, even so, what we got now is good, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah, and they clearly did. They clearly were willing to back up the money truck to his house for this season of Picard because he's doing a great job.
Oh, God.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. All of the legacy characters I've been just wowed with so far.
Oh, yeah. So, we have the medical examination of the changelings. And we find out that, unlike in previous iterations of changelings, they don't revert to goo. Which is interesting because why do they need the buckets then? Or maybe when they're alive, they do still have to revert to goo, but they don't when they're dead?
Yeah, because otherwise the guy, right, the guy that Raffi and Worf had shouldn't have been so twitchy.
Right. My real question, so they can replicate blood and it doesn't turn into goo, it stays blood, but it has no DNA. So Crusher says they can pass a traditional blood test, which, okay, true. If you're talking specifically the test of, if we take the blood out of this person, does it turn into changeling goo? But if it has...
That was the test, yeah.
Right. But my point, I guess what I'm trying to get at here is, if the blood has no DNA, That still seems like a very easy test for them to run with a tricorder and immediately tell that this is a changeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wondered that too.
But if people are accustomed to being like, oh, look, I have blood. Oh, okay, that's not a changeling.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it was there so that we could still be wondering whether Ro was a changeling or not. Mm-hmm. But it does seem like, well, there's still a very easy way to tell if they're changelings or not, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
In fact, like, you could probably, without even taking blood, you could just scan the person and see if they have DNA.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my real question on this is, they've replicated all of the various alien organs, or internal organs. Mm-hmm. They are alien to them. Do those organs function, or are they just there for show? Like, is the heart beating? Is the stomach digesting?
You know,
all valid questions.
Yeah, because we know Odo couldn't eat, because he had to pretend to have a coffee cup, right?
Right, he would eat himself, yeah.
Right, right. And yeah, because you'd think, you know what, that maybe was a setup for the whole thing of Ro insisted on coming over on a shuttle instead of going through the transporter, which would have picked up on that stuff. But we know that they're using transporters, so...
Someone I saw on Twitter speculated that the reason Ro insists on a shuttle is because she thinks maybe the changelings are using transporters to replace people.
Ooh.
Interesting.
So, like, if a changeling is the one operating the controls on the transporter, they could be beaming the actual person away into nowhere, and then materializing a changeling who looks like them at the destination.
That seems more complicated than necessary, but I could see that.
Or at the very least, maybe changelings are the ones just managing the transporter system, so other people who aren't changelings don't figure out, oh, we're transporting changelings left and right here.
Yeah, I wonder if the transporter sensor would, like, notice, hey, this creature doesn't have DNA or something.
There's other entities that we've run into that probably don't have DNA in the same way, so...
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
But then again, if you're going to rematerialize somebody's pattern, I feel like you would need to know that, what their DNA was and everything.
So, yeah, see, that's what I'm getting, because, like, they have used transporter patterns in the past as medical records.
Yeah.
Like, there were multiple episodes of TNG where they used the transporter record to, like, restore someone to their previous medical state. So that would tell me the transporter can definitely see someone's DNA, and if it would beam a changeling and it knows this is a human, they're supposed to have DNA, there might be, like, an alarm that would go off unless there was a changeling operating that transporter.
Mm-hmm.
Again, after a war, yes. Yeah. Well, I think all of this might be answered if and when we find out how far this goes. Because, you know, if you have somebody who's the head of Starfleet engineering who can dictate what is and isn't on starships, then they can say, okay, we don't need these alarms anymore, turn them off, and, you know.
Right.
See, now we're going to find out that Geordi's a changeling.
I hope not.
I hope not, too. I've seen people on Twitter being like, Beverly's a changeling, and I'm like, if...
Beverly is not a changeling.
It's like, if Beverly's a changeling, I'm going to rage.
Yeah,
no, there is
so mad.
No way that Beverly is a changeling. The conversations that she's had with Picard are way too...
personal and, like, yeah.
And like, I could see faking the information in the autopsy, but that's only going to go so far.
Yeah.
If she were a changeling and she wanted to do the autopsy, then she would have found a way to not have Trill Doctor there. Whose name I still don't know.
Oh,
I can't remember her name either. Oak. Is it Dr. Oak?
Oak. Yes. Yeah.
I can't remember her name.
Yeah, she hasn't had a huge role yet. I hope we get more dialogue from her at some point.
Well, so far, she's just been shown up by Crusher at every opportunity, so her existence is as a foil.
Well, it's sort of like how we've got the chief medical officer on Discovery, Dr. Pollard, who we see like twice a season because one of our main characters is also a doctor. But Riker might be a changeling. I don't know.
Might be Thomas. Maybe that's the answer to our question from earlier. That's why he doesn't want to be around Deanna, because he's replaced his clone, brother, whatever you want to call him.
Thomas loved Deanna, or at least he did 30 years ago.
Yeah, but she'd be able to tell that he was hiding something.
Oh, that's what you're getting at. Well, yeah, okay. Because she could feel his emotions and whatnot, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine she has a stronger bond with Will than she ever did with him before, so that would carry over.
But, I mean,
I don't think that's the case.
The same argument also works if Riker's a changeling.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
It's a changeling pretending to be Thomas Riker, pretending to be Will Riker.
They don't know that we know that they know that we know.
Right, exactly.
No, I don't.
That way, if they find out one of the deceptions, they're still they're still
one behind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm going to go out on a limb here. I don't think any of our main crew, cast, however you want to put it, is going to turn out to be changelings. I don't think so.
No, probably not.
With the partial maybe exception of Jack could have been replaced. But I don't think that's going to be the case.
I don't think Jack's a changeling.
Something else
I think
is going
he's a changeling weapon. I think he's an anti-changeling weapon.
Okay.
I'm wondering if Jack's a paw wraith.
Ooh.
The red eyes and the... interesting.
Right.
Okay. And they certainly would have... Well, would they have reason to go after changelings, though?
I don't know.
Okay.
They'd have reason to sow discord in general, I think.
That's true. That's true. And it might explain the reckoning tablet in Picard's office last season.
That is a good point. My theory is that there's something Borg-related happening, because he is the son of Picard, and we have not really seen, to my knowledge, what Borg DNA or material gets, passed down to offspring, right? At least not that I'm aware of.
That's true.
So that could be something. I just, when we see his visions, we see these black tendril things filling his vision, right? And that kind of, to me, seemed like how we've visually witnessed assimilation taking place. That's my theory, though.
Huh.
I don't know.
Thought of that.
I don't know. But I mean, Seven retained her nanoprobes. Was it nanoprobes? Yeah. So, but she was assimilated longer and she was assimilated younger and stayed assimilated longer. And obviously they hadn't finished assimilating Picard completely if he was then able to go back and produce children. So, interesting.
Yeah.
Jack's got nanoprobes wandering around, doesn't know it.
I feel like Beverly would know.
I feel like that too. Because it would show up in medical scans.
Right.
True. Well, so in his visions, he saw this old door. I remember him seeing this door. Yeah. And I was wondering I had this weird theory where I was maybe could he have been taken by Starfleet intelligence or Section 31 and experimented on unbeknownst to his knowledge or Beverly's knowledge or something, because they knew that he was Picard's son, right? So I feel that could explain why he doesn't really seem to have any knowledge about what's happening to him either. Maybe it's trauma or something to that effect. But we've seen Starfleet intelligence, Section 31, do some very shady things in the past. I wouldn't put it past them to experiment on the child of someone who was Borg.
Yeah. And we certainly know they can, they pick people up in the middle of the night, with Bashir.
Yeah.
Right.
We gave you an hour of sleep. Yeah. That would be interesting. That would, I feel like that might be, if it is directed at the Dominion particularly, that's a rehashing of the disease thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Not that that's necessarily a bad or an improbable thing. Because that even gives them reason to do that, because it's like, oh, it didn't work. We're going to do it again. I don't know. That does make it that Beverly was right about not being able to protect the son of Jean-Luc Picard, and it just gives her more justification for having hidden him, which I don't want, because I don't think she was justified, but...
That's fair. I mean, I think that Starfleet Intelligence / Section 31, I mean, I think that maybe they could have been trying to find some way to weaponize Borg technology in some way. So, because I mean, if we look back at season 1 of Star Trek Picard, they were experimenting medically with the Borg on what do they call it? The artifact, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it wasn't them; it was the Romulans, wasn't it?
It was Romulans, yeah.
Now that I think about it, but then again, we don't know if they had any involvement in that or not either. So,
I don't know.
I will give them props. This season, they're doing a really good job, like, keeping us unsure of, like, I feel like in prior seasons, like, there's been, like, a certain degree of predictability in places. I don't feel like there's any predictability this time. Like, I'm legitimately, like, it could be this, it could be that, it could be that person, it could be this situation, right?
Yeah, they are doing a nice job of that. This is starting to remind me, I was talking with Jay about this the other day. This feels like the difference between All Good Things and Generations with season 2 versus season 3 of Picard, where it's like, oh, you can tell that everybody was focused on one of these things, and that turned out better. And then they moved to the other thing. It's the opposite timeline, but I still think it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, are you saying that Generations is not a cinematic masterpiece?
Yes. I didn't say it was bad, but it's not as good as All Good Things. All Good Things is beautiful.
Fair.
There are very few things that are better than All Good Things.
Yeah. But just the whole story of how they went, half of the writing team went away to do Generations, and yeah. Anyway.
I just remember the same people who wrote Generations also wrote First Contact, so...
Yeah. No, it's focus. That's all. I think if they had given it a year, if they hadn't been like, oh, we're going to end the series and then we're going to have a movie right after. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the film had, like, really good moments in it, but...
Oh, yes. I like Generations.
Yeah,
it's not bad. I just...
As I've gotten older, I've seen its flaws, though. Like, it definitely has flaws to it.
Yeah, oh no, it definitely does. I have trouble viewing it objectively because I first saw it when I was 8 years old and thought it was amazing. But...
To this day, the Enterprise D being destroyed, like, wrecks me.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like in the Search for Spock when they, like, destroy the Enterprise. Like, any destruction of the Enterprise destroys me.
Although I will say, the Klingon bird of prey blowing up was the first time I ever noticed recycled footage in anything ever as a kid. I'm
Same.
like, that's the same shot from Star Trek 6.
That still makes me mad to this day. I'm just like, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, I love Generations. It's
Yes.
it is flawed but fun, I think, is a good way to describe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like the first 2 seasons of Picard. Flawed, but fun.
And there my analogy stands.
Generations
all right.
is better than Picard Season 2.
Yeah, it is.
Full circle moment.
Yep. So the red door thing. The only thing I have that's popped into my head about that is that we know that he did not grow up on a spaceship, or at least he spent some time going to school on the ground in London. So maybe that's
where he picked up the accent.
Right, and then never lost it. Maybe that's the door of the house they lived in, or something. Because
I was wondering if that was some sort of weird genetic carryover from Picard.
Oh.
Because he, like, if we go back to season 2 of Picard, Picard kept seeing the door in his vision all the time. Because the door that his mother was behind.
Different door. Well, okay.
Different door, but the same sort of situation is what I'm trying to get at.
Maybe. Interesting.
Interesting point that I didn't think of before. Have we noticed that Jack has started having these visions since that exchange with Shaw about, like, Wolf 359?
No, he started having the visions when he was exposed to the gas.
Oh, you're right. I do remember that.
Yeah, but we discussed whether this is the first time we're seeing it or if it's the first time it's happening.
Right, yeah.
Right, and we don't know that.
Yeah.
And I think the conversation that he has with Beverly, where she talks about how he used to be afraid to go to sleep because of nightmares, kind of makes me think he's been having these visions this whole time.
Right.
Yeah, and since he was a child.
That makes sense.
And maybe they've been gone. And it just reappears.
That's true.
Yeah. Because he didn't remember having the nightmares.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe it's something that was an issue when he was a child, and then it's been reignited for some reason. Yeah. 11's going to show up and make somebody's head explode. It'll be fine.
Yeah, so, last week we had Mark White on, and he was talking about how they made him think of Terry Metalis' other show, 12 Monkeys. Based on Mark's discussion, I actually started watching 12 Monkeys. I've already watched the first season.
Awesome.
I'm like halfway through season 2 at this point. It is quite good. And actually, the scene when Shaw and Riker and Picard are in the elevator and Shaw's humming music, he's humming the 12 Monkeys theme.
Okay.
I love this.
That's beautiful. Because all I could think of was Boimler with the TNG theme in the elevator, in the turbo lift.
But I'm not really getting a 12 Monkeys vibe from the visions.
Okay.
I can see where Mark is coming from with that, but in the 12 Monkeys visions, they show like a red forest with red grass and red leaves and all that, but they don't show like vines growing like we see in these visions that Jack is having, which still feel much more Stranger Things to me personally. But I can definitely see where he's coming from. So very interested to see. Hopefully next week we'll get more info on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we also, a big part of this episode that we haven't talked about at all yet is Raffi and Worf.
Yes. Yet again, if we did not have her in an established relationship with Seven, I would totally be shipping Raffi and Worf. Totally.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right.
Donny disagrees.
No. I agree.
No, that's good.
I actually agree 100% because, like, Raffi and Worf do have, like, a chemistry, right? Like, they do. Mm-hmm. I'm always looking at, like, how they handle LGBTQ plus characters and the fact that this season suddenly starts with, like, oh, they broke up somehow and, we don't really know why. I was just, like, that kind of left, like, a bitter taste in my mouth. I'm thinking that they might reconnect later, or we might get more explanation. So I'm holding out hope for that.
And we don't even truly know they're broken up. It could just be because Raffi's off on this secret mission, they're just not seeing each other right now.
True.
She did say it, but she said it to the drug dealer guy trying to get him
She said a lot of things to that drug dealer guy.
So yeah, we don't know. That is a good point.
Yeah, I don't think they're actually separated. But romantically, literally they are.
Well, they did a great job making me feel that way. Maybe that was the point.
Yeah, that is. But
yeah, like the way Worf says Raffaella, I mean, yeah.
Worf is still so attractive. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Worf is more attractive now than he was on TNG.
Yes.
Like, oh.
Like,
anyway.
Honestly, like, most of these characters are more attractive now than they used to be. I don't know. Maybe I'm just into older people. I don't know.
Well, you're older than you were, so maybe that's
true.
We're all older than we were.
I mean, when I was younger, I thought they were attractive, and there's like, I guess they're still attractive,
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, I mean, they are still attractive, yes. Yeah. But, like, I don't know, like, Riker and Worf, they were attractive back then, but they got something going on with the Silver Fox. It's just
Definitely
a whole different level.
And I am obsessed with Beverly's hair. Like, can we talk? Like, can we talk about how phenomenal her hair is? Anyway.
I think that's actually her hair this time. I can't remember
this is the first time in Star Trek that Beverly Crusher has had her actual hair. Or Beverly Crusher has had Gates McFadden's hair instead of a wig.
Which I think is great.
That is great.
But she's had that little stripe in her hair. McFadden's had that stripe in her hair for years and years. Because I remember seeing it at, other stuff prior.
Yeah, I mean, she's had that when I've seen her at cons before. Yeah, and I'm talking like 5-10 years ago.
Yeah. Anyway, they're all pretty. It's good.
Yeah, and Michelle Forbes as Ro Laren also
stunning.
Yeah, fantastic.
Just like all of these actors glow up.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a Rafi question for all of you.
Yes.
How do you feel about people's reactions to Rafi? Because I feel like, as a character, Rafi's gotten a lot of criticism from a lot of Star Trek fans. I don't know if you've noticed.
I have.
Do you? I
disagree, but I have.
Okay, I was gonna say, do you feel it's justified, or because I don't really see like why some people just have like this resistance to Rafi. Like, I think she's phenomenal.
Well, I mean, I could give some reasons why some people would have resistance to Rafi that are not, entirely good reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael Burnham style reasons.
Yeah.
But I also think there's for those of us who grew up on the utopia of 90s Trek, setting DS9 aside, which really is more reality than the Enterprise ever could be, but I think people are put off by the idea that there is such a thing as substance abuse anymore, that there is such a thing as people who are feeling desperate and all of those things that lead her down that path. And it's like, when we've seen that, it's been as a character point in a story from which the person is supposed to be redeemed by the end. And she has been. Because she's not abusing substances anymore. I was trying to think of a different way to say that. And she's back where she needs to be, but also she's still flawed, which we see in the conversation she has with her ex-husband.
Right.
We're supposed to go like, this woman is a mother, but she's putting her career, she's putting these other things ahead of her family, her child, and her grandchild. And there's another level to that, because if you switch sexes there, switch genders, we see that all the time in stories. Fathers can set aside the family and go have an adventure and then come back, and nobody calls them bad fathers or bad people for that. So I think that's some of it too.
Oh, that's a good point. I do enjoy this story arc where she's been recruited by Starfleet intelligence, because again, it kind of like Picard mentions that like rebels all around are find home in Starfleet, but I also feel like Starfleet intelligence finds people who were or are broken in order to reform them in what way fits best for the institution, right?
Yeah, no, I find the character very compelling and very fascinating.
Me too.
But when it comes down to it, I've always been DS9 has always been my favorite Star Trek. I have never subscribed to a completely utopian view of the future. So I find flawed characters comforting, because I'm flawed myself. And I can never live up to a perfect character. So I think she's great, and I think the character is very well written.
Yeah. The way you said that just now prompted me to think of this in a way I hadn't before. because I have always loved the utopia, and I've always loved the lack of flaws, and I was also raised Catholic, and I wonder if it has anything to do with.
Well, I mean, I love the aspiration of it. Like, I love the idea of wanting to get there.
But the concept that it's possible to do that, it's like, I feel like that was DS9 was in that analogy. DS9's Martin Luther pinning his 95 theses on the door of the Wittenberg Cathedral and pointing out that people aren't perfect and they can't be perfect. And that, I might have to write a paper on that one. Thank you for saying it that way. That's totally, that blew my mind.
And I was raised Lutheran, so this makes sense.
Right.
That's actually...
Well, and there could be a conversation about, colonization and with that too, because when we think of the utopia that the Federation is, like, it's Earth largely and the founding members that are the utopias, right? Whereas, like, as the story expands out to other planets, like, we see that utopia is not this universal thing, right? And I think that's why I particularly enjoy DS9 and Voyager, is because we get to see exposure to, these different planets and species out there who have different systems, right? But we also have, like, this mirror effect where we are able to hold up a mirror to humanity and the Federation to be like, okay, like, there are great things about this institution. However, there are flaws about it too, right? Because there is something somewhat colonize-y, if that is even a word, about it, right?
Well, I mean, you look at when Mark Twain is on there. Everybody here that lives in all of this how does he put it? All of this wonderfulness wanting for nothing. But what about that blue skin guy over there? I'm sure you told that when you conquered him, and it's like, no, it's not a conquest. But is it a conquest? And this goes back to what we had a massively long conversation about the short trek with Harry Mudd, the name of which escapes me at the moment. But
the escape artist.
Escape artist, yeah, that's funny. It escaped me, escape artist. Because that turned into, and I don't remember which, this is going way back, but we thought that was going to be like a 5-minute, like, oh, okay, yep, that's a thing, that's an episode. There's nothing really deep to delve into here. And then I was like, no, colonialism. I think we ended up doing an hour and a half. So
that's one of my favorite short treks, honestly.
Oh, it's great. I love it. I still think they made a mistake not having, speaking of other short treks, John Benjamin be Cyrano Jones, but that's a whole other thing.
Oh, well, that's a different short trek altogether, but yes.
Yeah, that's what I said. Speaking of different short trek. Yeah.
I'm actually less of a fan of that one.
I am too. That is the short trek that didn't happen.
That one is especially polarizing, I think. I think people either loved it or hated it.
I was with them for most of it. The Tribble cereal commercials kind of just put me over.
Oh, God. Like, no, that was so disgusting. Creepy. I did not need that.
Yeah. Donnie's like,
Yeah.
Jumping
around. Not going to get any disagreement from me.
Yeah, all right.
No, like, I'm honestly, if we're going to talk about short treks really quick, I'm just really sad that they've not chosen to continue to do them, because I thought they were a brilliant way to, like, signal things, to, like, tease things, etc.
I wonder if we might go back to short treks in the future, if they're consolidating and doing fewer shows. So for the last couple years, I think the reason they didn't do short treks is because they didn't need to tide us over between shows.
True.
Because that was like the point of short treks, or the announced reason for short treks when it first launched, was that it was sort of a way to keep people's attention between seasons of Discovery.
Yeah. Don't drop your CBS All Access subscription and you'll miss short treks.
Right, exactly. But, like, as we said, last year we got, like, 50-some episodes of Star Trek, so they didn't need to do that. But now, with them canceling Discovery and Picard wrapping up, we might have longer gaps between Star Trek, which means we might get something like Short Treks again, or at least I'm hoping. And I hope they expand it out to the wider Star Trek world, and because as it was, the Short Treks were all Discovery / Strange New Worlds, and then the one prequel to Picard before Picard came up. But I would like short treks that aren't necessarily tied to existing shows, but like show us a short trek about, I don't know, Captain Harriman and the Enterprise B, or something completely out of nowhere on Star Trek. I think that would be cool.
Yep. Yes, definitely.
We have a lot of great ideas. I hope Paramount Plus and CBS are listening. I'm gonna keep saying that.
Nope. They are not. But if in the future
we
they
can't say that for 100% certain. They could be.
I am sure that there is someone who works for the larger company that is Paramount / CBS listens to this show. It might be somebody who's a night security guard, but
sue us about.
Well, there's that too. All right, getting back to the Utopia thing. Okay.
Yes.
Kryn says there can be no utopia without crime, therefore organized criminal enterprise is logical.
Which is bullshit.
I can bring it back around. I agree.
That statement is complete and utter bullshit, and a Vulcan should not be able to make such a logical fallacy.
You know, it's BS, but I remember, where was it? Was it an episode of TNG where they talked about how logic could be used in like warped ways, because in some ways logic can also be up to interpretation and subjective.
Oh yeah.
So I thought it was really interesting to see like a Vulcan like finding some way to use logic to justify like horrible things like this. So that was very intriguing to me.
Yeah, no, obviously, I shouldn't say that any Vulcan can't do that, because they're not a monolithic culture, and in the same way that there are Vulcan gangsters, and there are human gangsters and non-human, and humans that are not gangsters. Why not the same with Vulcans? You can justify pretty much anything to yourself with the right argument. So, yeah, I just objectively saying that Utopia requires organized crime is absurd.
On my second and third watch, I was like, how do we end up with a Vulcan child on this planet, in this place where he ends up becoming, friends with a Ferengi, again, child, so that they can grow up and understand all of this crime and everything. And I'm like, the idea of, I don't want to say an unwanted Vulcan child, because I don't feel like we don't know enough about him to say that.
Sure.
But how did he get there? This is another short trek they should do. How do we get to that point? Vulcans are so interconnected with family and everything. It's like, I feel like if his parents maybe his parents worked at the Starfleet Recruitment Center and they got killed because of something and he disappeared, and like, you'd think there would be somebody go looking for them, which made me wonder if his parents were Vatash. Is Vatash Couture the Vulcans without logic?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah. So I applied a whole storyline to him as I'm watching it in my head, like how he got to that point and why no one went looking for him from his families and all of that. But
so coming back to the 12 Monkeys references, Kryn is played by Kirk Acevedo, who has been in many different things. He's probably most famous for the TV show Fringe and for 12 Monkeys. He's one of the main characters in 12 Monkeys. And in 12 Monkeys, he grows up as a scavenger in a post-apocalyptic Earth, where he is best friends with the actor whose name is escaping me right now, who plays
Sneed in...
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And they are not actual brothers, but they grow up together and are best friends and scavengers in a post-apocalyptic Earth together. So this whole thing is clearly a whole reference to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really well done.
I do love the thought of a Ferengi and a Vulcan being besties.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to know more. I just want to know more.
Yeah. Short Trek.
Yeah. Or just watch 12 Monkeys and pretend that they're not human.
There you go.
True. I need to watch it still.
I do recommend it. It is quite good. If you like dark sci-fi, dystopian sci-fi, then it's very good. And it seems like most sci-fi these days is dark and dystopian. So,
Yeah, well, that's because society is heading
reflective
in that
of reality.
Yes, quite.
The amount of writing one could do about the difference between the utopian ideology of the 60s and leftover utopian ideology from the 60s being applied to the 80s and then now is just, that's books and books.
Aaron Stanford is the actor who played Sneed, and also James Cole on 12 Monkeys.
Okay.
So because that's clearly just Terry Matalas having fun and making references to his own stuff, which is it's fine. I like it.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a neat little throwback there. You noted down something, Chrissy, that I hadn't even considered. The fight to the death between Raffi and Worf.
Yeah.
Were they rehearsing that ahead of time on the ship?
Did they have, did they suspect, he might make us fight each other? Because I think you can look at that as both. It's training, certainly. But, under what circumstances would Raffi and Worf be having hand-to-hand training if there isn't reasoning behind it? They don't have, they don't have any relationship at all because they just met each other. But it's like, I don't see him suggesting that, and I don't see her asking without a context. So.
Yeah, I don't know if they were like specifically preparing for that exact specific thing,
well, yeah.
But I think by doing that training, it certainly helped them with that. And the entire fight sequence was very well done. I really like that when Worf does come back from the dead, as it were, and he starts to explain it. He's like, actually, we should explain this later. I'm dying.
Yeah.
Or I'm serious need of medical attention. Yeah, I thought that was really well done.
Yeah. Of course, then again, now that I've said that, he does talk about how you get to know someone's weaknesses and strengths by fighting with them. So maybe he did say we're going to have some combat training just so he could find out things about her. Either way, it works, So.
Yeah.
And we find out that mobile emitters, there's more than one anymore. So that's an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Once they get back to the Alpha Quadrant, I'm sure when scientists look at it, they're able to reverse engineer that. Although one wonders about the temporal prime directive in that case.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they kind of throw that out the window when it works to
always
the advantage of the institution, right?
Yeah. Always.
Well, so this is kind of like a random side note. So the mobile emitter was, futuresque technology brought back with Voyager, right? When they returned at the end of the show. But they also brought back like this, armor technology.
Yep.
And other types of like Borg infused technology. And I recall a person on Twitter asking Terry Matalas, like, well, why aren't these ships equipped with like armor and stuff like that? And Terry responded with, what did he say? Like an accident or something like that. So I'm wondering if we're going to get like an explanation later in the season about that, because they brought back a lot of technology, that could have been helpful, but...
Well, maybe they were starting to do that at the Utopia Planitia before the synth uprising.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
Or before the Prodigy thing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. So we know that we get the stuff we need to be able to break into Daystrom now. Mm-hmm. And Daystrom has an artificial intelligence security system with illogical flaws.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, we know Moriarty is showing up at some point on this show.
Yeah.
We also know Lore is showing up at some point on this show.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like an artificial intelligence with illogical flaws applies to both of those. So that could be interesting.
That would be... I want to know, if it is Moriarty running the security at Daystrom, how did we go from where they were to that? You know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can draw a line, you can make a story for it if you want, but
Yeah, but what if it's Moriarty and Lore? What if it's Loriarty?
Loriarty.
Well, that's a ship I never thought of. Yeah. Well, it could... Excuse me. It could be Moriarty, but not the Moriarty we've seen. It could be that they pulled elements of his program to use for the security.
You
know, like here's some, we have this AI that's set up, and so they could take everything except what gives him sentience, maybe? Yeah. Although, again, that seems like a lot of work for that.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll find out next week.
I don't think that would make for, I feel like if they just took the original Moriarty, out of that holographic life that he was living and made him the AI, I feel like that would make for a more interesting encounter when Picard eventually encounters him, because that's going to create some conflict.
Oh, yeah.
He was convinced that he was living, and existing when really he wasn't. So that's going to be, that's going to definitely cause a lot of tension, I would say.
Yeah. Oh, this is going to be good.
We also learned that Ro is their handler, Raffi and Worf, during that, series of scenes. So that was pretty pivotal at that point in the episode.
Yeah. We were talking about little nitpicks earlier. The amount of times that they used the word Bajoran in front of earring was completely unnecessary after the first one. I get that they're trying to... they want to put that in for people... okay, this is the thing, if you don't remember or you don't know, but once you've said it once, you can just say earring. You can just say earring. The same way Picard didn't need to say, oh, we're going to the Titan, your old command. It's exposition. I get it. But it still kind of took me out of it.
Yeah.
But cool spycraft on her part.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was well done, her giving him the earring, even when she didn't know she was going to die at that point. She just was like, here. Well, she needed to get him the information. Either way, So, I do think they didn't try hard enough to save her, but that's me. I agree.
Yeah.
But I think she didn't want to be saved.
Yeah, I think you're right. There was some discussion I saw around about people who were kind of irked that they brought her back just to kill her. And I'm wondering if that was part of it. Is that part of why Michelle Forbes agreed to do it? Maybe she got to write her own death, like Samuel L. Jackson in Star Wars,
Right.
Yeah, or at least dictate how it was going to happen.
In Star Trek 2.
Yeah.
Truthfully, yeah. I can't think of any other worthy end for Ro Laren, though. If I were to ever think about Ro Laren dying, it would be in an act similar to that. I personally, I was kind of upset at first that they didn't do more to save her, but then I watched it on the second time around and I realized that, there was, a transport inhibitor or something that was preventing transport. But I think it was a final character development for her where she always wanted to prove herself to Picard. And what better way to do that than literally sacrifice yourself for that person, right?
In different contexts, that sounds abusive.
It does kind of, and
or
I
the
think,
result of an abusive relationship, but it's not. I'm just saying,
Right.
like if you take that on its own, yeah.
But they did allude to that earlier in the episode too, because during that heated exchange in the holodeck, she talks about like living under Picard's like, constant judgment, etc. And I do think that Picard does have like certain qualities where like his morality is defined by duty, right? And that could be toxic at times. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I really liked that they did hash it out, accepting the fact that we talked about earlier that he didn't know what was going on, but whatever.
That's besides the point, right?
Yeah. 12 changeling incidents across multiple starships. Starfleet is compromised at the highest level. I want this to be... I want to find out that the conspiracy aliens are also changelings. I know it's not going to happen.
Right.
They've got butt bugs.
Yeah.
That episode of TNG was the biggest tease in Star Trek history.
Yeah.
Also so wild that it was allowed on network television. You see the guy's skull as they're, like, killing him.
I remember...
Well, it wasn't network, though. That's why.
Oh, right.
Okay, it was not on a network, but a lot of networks aired it. Like, it still had the same,
Yeah, no, I got you.
It still was under the same FCC requirements as an actual network program.
That episode was horrifying when I watched it for the first time.
Yeah. And it does look kind of claymation-y and a little bit fake, so maybe that's how they got around it. Like
it does now. It
yogurt blood in Undiscovered Country.
Unlike on a 13-inch CRT back in the 80s, it looked perfectly realistic.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah, that's true, I guess.
But yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Well, now we look at it and it's like, oh.
Well, the worst part in that one is the scene when Riker and the Admiral are fighting and you see their stunt doubles. Like, in HD, you can clearly tell that they're the stunt doubles.
Yeah.
You could not before, so I will, I'll allow them that, right?
We seek peaceful coexistence.
So, yeah.
The bulging neck. Oh.
Yeah. Okay, sorry I brought it up. We don't find out which ships have had incidents, so we don't know where those are in relation to all of the Federation Day preparations, which we may come to find out. I don't know.
So, if they've had incidents and Ro is aware of it, that means that, like, someone at Starfleet is trying to cover this up who is probably not a changeling. It's just trying to cover it up for other reasons.
Power.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They've probably been... It's probably someone who they are treating like a Vorta. You're going to have this power and this authority, but it comes back to us always.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's a thought. It could be a wild thought. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Because we never have wild thoughts.
Right.
Oh, no.
Have we really thought about what's happened to the female changeling who essentially turned herself in at the end of DS9 for war crimes? Because, like, in my mind, now that I've been seeing this season of Picard, like, this character is very martyr-esque, right? And I cannot think of any character who would oversee or at least be deemed as a leader to a, sect of changelings who leave the Great Link than her.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we would get that. We'll have to see, I guess, but...
I don't know. I hadn't thought about that, who might be leading that sect.
Yeah, no, I hadn't really thought of her specifically, but yeah.
Well, we know that Vadic is not a leader, right? Like, Vadic literally is getting instructions from someone else, so...
Her hand.
Yeah.
And it is... Salome Jens is still alive. They could have brought her back for a scene.
That could be one
That
of the
would be
legacy.
interesting.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
like
love
that.
her so much.
Oh yeah. I want all of these episodes now.
I know. And I don't want it to end either. I'm kind of getting
Yeah.
depressed that we're halfway through.
Also, I just saw something wild on Memory Alpha. Apparently, Salome Jens is the sister-in-law of Anthony Zerbe, who was the Badmiral in Star Trek Insurrection.
Wow.
Weird connections.
Yeah, I know, right?
I love these connections, though.
That was the episode of Trek Ranks this week. I just was finished listening to it before we started recording. Just weird connections.
Oh, nice. I
Yeah.
have not listened to that one yet.
I just dropped today or the other day.
Nice.
Yeah. So, Ro does say that Jack is central to the investigation, and that Starfleet specifically asked for Jack to be detained. So, somebody knows something is going on with him, which kind of then lends toward the whole, is he being unconsciously used by Starfleet intelligence? Or unknowingly used?
Maybe.
I mean, it so clearly...
There's something that the changelings want from him. We don't know what yet, but there is something they want from him.
Right. I think considering season 3 of this show is, picking up on a lot of things from TNG, Voyager, DS9, I think that it would be sensible for it to be, the next development of, the Section 31 storyline that we got. Especially in DS9, right?
Yeah.
But that has yet to be seen.
The recap episode, once we know the answer to all of these, is going to be so fun. Yeah. Oh. Just bring more. I looked up Emergency Order 762 Alpha, and that's the first time we've ever heard it. So...
That makes sense.
Yeah. I don't... How do you feel about Shaw just announcing to everyone that there's, the crew might be infiltrated?
It just feels like a Shaw thing to do.
I'm of two minds about it, because that might cause somebody who is, one of the imposters to do something stupid and reveal themselves, but it also might cause them to be more careful and not reveal themselves. And how did Ro decide who stayed?
Yeah, I was going to ask that. She left him with a skeleton crew,
Yeah.
and she says, make sure they're people you can trust. But,
Yeah.
did she use some sort of criteria to figure that out, or?
I understand her leaving all of the, the people from TNG, Jack, and I feel like she'd be like, okay, so we know that they tried to replace LaForge and were unsuccessful with it, so she's probably fine too. But beyond that?
Yeah, maybe she kept the regular bridge crew too. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Seems like
It's
it.
interesting. Yeah.
We didn't even talk about his dream of shooting all the people on the bridge. That was freaky.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's part of his, visions.
Yeah.
Very confused about what is going to happen with that. That's why I'm still wondering if he might be a pod wraith.
So, that, or
It's possible.
do you remember when he encountered the changelings in the corridor? He had a vision, and then he activated in some way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that really that definitely reminded me of season 1.
Oh, yeah!
With was it Soji? Or
Or
I
Dodge.
hadn't thought of that.
Dodge. How Dodge just activates when under threat, right?
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought of that until you just mentioned that, but that makes a lot of
That
sense.
is, yeah. Ooh.
Maybe he's
That is my
actually an android,
contribution, everyone. You're
just
welcome.
like his father.
Like his father before him and his father, yeah. Oh, wow.
Maybe he's a changeling android.
Right.
Yeah.
So, one side note, we were just talking about Shaw, and I've been just thinking this whole season, does he clearly needs some therapy, more therapy than he probably
Yes.
received, and it brings me to this other overarching criticism that I've had of Picard, Star Trek Picard. Where are the Counselor Troys? Where is the therapists? I feel like most starships had therapists. during the TNG era. Like, where are they at?
So there was a good Twitter thread that I saw, I think it was this past week, that someone pointed out that all the people saying Shaw needs therapy, Shaw has probably had a lot of therapy already.
True.
Yeah.
Like, Starfleet would not just let him be a captain without it, but therapy is not a one-and-done situation.
No, it's not. Yeah.
So...
Imagine what he was like before.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't
But, like,
mean to
I'm sure he has worked on a lot of this, but it's not a, you go to therapy and now you are no longer in need of any mental health assistance at all. You're cured. That doesn't happen.
Right.
What, you mean human psyches are complicated and require a lot of time and attention and thought? Okay.
I mean, clearly, like, there are still residual things that he struggles with. I mean, that exchange with Vadic in an earlier episode where she literally kind of, like, barbs at him, being like, well, you're functional still. That's impressive, or something to that effect. Like, so I think we might get more of that in the season.
And we haven't met everyone on the Titan, and we do not know what's going on with him with that.
True.
And I think even if he had gone through a bunch of therapy over what happened at Wolf 359 and had come to terms with it, meeting Locutus in person is going to wipe all of that out.
Oh, 100%.
So, that's... Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that I feel like had Riker... His file has to say he was at Wolf 359, that he survived 359. I mean, there's no reason it wouldn't. So, did at no point Riker look at his file or Picard look at his file and go, oh, maybe it's not the best idea for you to be along on this little trip? But then again, that's the whole MacGuffin, so that would make too much sense. We need a story, so that's okay.
If there's anything that there are many things that I could compliment, like, the newer Star Trek shows with, but I think how they've navigated and talked about mental health has been so important.
Yes.
And I appreciate that we are seeing Shaw in this, like, very vulnerable light, because I think it's going to help us just see, like, how traumatic Wolf 359 was and how it still matters. In the Star Trek universe. And in a completely different way than, like, the trauma that Picard harbors from, having been assimilated and having been used as that instrument of destruction.
Yeah.
Well.
On that note...
I think we've taken it apart.
I think we've dissected this episode pretty thoroughly, enough that it was about to revert back to its changeling form instead of staying.
There you go.
Chrissy, did you have any other thoughts that you wanted to discuss about this episode?
Not that I can think of. I'm sure I'll think of some as soon as I hit stop, but
Sure, yeah.
That's what we have
always
next week.
Donnie, anything else you haven't covered?
Other than I am just super excited to see what's to come.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Donnie, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can listeners find you online? What current or upcoming work do you want to mention?
You can find me on YouTube, Donny Winter, DonnyWinter. I do a variety of different things, but right now I have 2 podcasts. Restitching the Tapestry is a podcast where a friend of mine discuss, like, current events, pop culture, and art, etc. And then my show Growing Up with Godzilla, shameless Godzilla nerd here. I basically sit Godzilla fans down and talk with them about, like, how they grew up with the character and the franchise over time. In fact, I've thought about doing a podcast similar to that for Star Trek, but
Ooh.
I don't know if I'm ready to take on a 3rd podcast, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
But
especially because you do yours video, so that's a whole other layer. Yeah.
I do recommend podcasting about Star Trek. It's kind of fun.
Definitely, yeah.
I mean, case in point, I love doing this. Like, thank you both for having me join you again.
Thanks for being on.
Enjoy these conversations.
Mm-hmm. We enjoy having you. You bring up interesting stuff.
Chrissy, where can people find you when you're not sacrificing yourself to disable a ship that might attack the other ship?
Oh, that was a hell of a scene. It was.
Ooh.
Right, so in addition to here on Infinite Diversity, you can find me on History with the Szilagys here on the BQN. That's the mostly twice-weekly short history podcast I do with my fellow historian partner, Jason. And I'm also happy to chat about our shows in the BQN Collective on Facebook. And I'm on Twitter at the Goddess Livia, that's TheGoddessLivia, where I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics. All right, well, Thad, where can people find you when you are not getting your ship back from the guy you gave it to in order to make sure that they were the one who fixed it since they brought it in the first place?
Best place to find me is on Twitter. I'm at Tyrannicus. That's Tyranicus. You can also hear me on the podcast I do with my friend Carl about James Bond and James Bond adjacent things called License to Spiel. That's license spelled with a C like the British do it.
Don't forget all of our other great shows on BQN, like Galaxy Class, All Good Things, Union Federation, What's the T-Bev, Trexperts Quiz, Mickey's Marvels, and the aforementioned History with the Szilagys. And if you are a Patreon member, there's It's Green with Mark White and Amy's Math Moment.
Thank you very much for tuning in to Infinite Diversity. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music and Mark White for the awesome show art. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast player and don't forget to rate and review us there as well.
And if you'd like to reach out, you can find the network on Twitter at BQN Podcasts and our show specifically at IDIC Podcast. You can also talk about any and all of the BQN podcasts in our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. Next week, we'll be talking about the next episode of Picard, which is called Bounty. Until then, we bid you peace and long life.
Infinite diversity.